Just a brief overlook where we really started. We allowed to do the side exclusion couple SAXS doing right when we had installed new detector using the frame slicing system. We can collect 2 seconds or 1 second exposure without time delays and without any gaps in between, and that's allowed us to really using the the side exclusion SAXS. And the first kind of external user was in 2017, in September, that we opened our mail-in page that was already presented by Catherine, where you can allocate your time. We don't have a tour of the beamline that, but this how it's look like inside. This is the robotic system that Craig described for the high throughput, where the needle come in and out of the plate. And on the left side, we see all the stack of all the pumps and UV detector, and we have 2 sets of pumps on the bottom and on the top, and we are able to have 8 different flows, and that is connected with the moles prior SAXS data collection, and that's going to the sample cell that is located here in the same position, but it's a different sample cell as the high throughput, but it's in the same place, and that's the fly tube, and this is our detector. But that's how it looks like inside when we put our sample. This is just already, hey, this is how the mail-in SAXS. I got distracted by Rob, sorry for that. This is how the mail-in SAXS works. It's basically very similar. You allocate your time, you do some submit rapid proposal, it's good for us and for statistic, and then you are able to send the samples the day before data collection. We are not receiving the plates. We're receiving Eppendorfs, at least 60 microliter per sample, but I will talk about it in details here. All the information you can again see on our instruction under the SAXS right here. And I may save the time and not talk about the details, but you have instruction about buffers, what column you can choose. But what I wish to do, maybe it will be advantage, what is the most important when you allocate the time, what is important for us. So let's say allocate the time for September 29. I say this is me, I'm gonna be Hammel, and no other contact because I work by myself. I'm accepting it. And so here we have information about the buffer. So you really need to add some buffer information, and you need to send us 10x or 5x buffer, at least 50 milliliter of 10x. Why we need 500 milliliter or at least 250 milliliter of buffer is because we equilibrate the column, and equilibration for the moles take a longer time. And so for that reason, even that you have 1 sample, but we need to equilibrate the system for you to have a very nice flat line for, especially for diffractivity index. So that's buffer in case get lost or something. We don't like to say that, but we can replicate the buffer. But please send us the 10x buffer, and this needs to be noted with. Next, this is very important. We have 3 columns, and you can choose based on your size of your particle of interest. You can choose between 802, 803, 804 SHOTX. What are samples? You can put unknown names, but this is very important to get the samples and how much volume you have there. Minimum is 60 microliter. I would say maximum what we can inject is 100 microliter. So between 60 and 100, that's what we require. Again, the buffer could be anything what you like to have. However, the SHOTX column prefer a lower pH, so prefers under the 7.5. If you have a specific problem and you know that your SHOTX columns are not suitable for separation of your protein or protein RNA system, you're okay to ask for new or to send us your column. Okay, so that being said, and so you can also add a new sample here. etc., etc. Again, we also like to sometimes see this concentration here, but those two are the most important information that we need to know, the name, and that goes straight to our spreadsheet that we kind of know what we're collecting. And based on a data delivery, you will see the sample one, that's the sample one. So you will see the name of your sample in our report. Concentration, molecular weight are optional, but it helps us to sometimes recognize if it's problem on the beamline side or is the problem with your samples. If you say here, I have 1 mg per mil, that's probably will be a problem to see anything, and we will know that your concentration is too low and it's not a problem at the beamline, but it's a problem with your sample. That's helped us a lot. So that's being said. And then you just click here and you get all the information back after we collect the data, capturing, actively monitoring, and sending information when the samples arrived. So that's a huge help. And also when they're being collected. And when the data are ready to upload from our server, you get information that are also written down here, how to get the data, but also there are information in the email, how you get your data in the SAXS report and the MOLS report back. So that, and don't forget, cite and publish when you acknowledge the SIBYLS. Let's help us to operate. This is very important for us, for both for HT or SIBYLS. We are not asking for money from you, but it's good to have a $20 or $100 bill on a plate when it's shipped. That helps, but that's optional. Support the Coffee Max and coffee on the beamline for Daniel and for us in general. So let's go back to the SIBYLS, how this really looks like at the column. So what that is what we do. This is more extended now. We have 8 solvent inlets. We have auto sampler that can load 50 microliter to 100 microliter. Concentration is the rule. What Greg mentioned, it's a little bit different. You can't say how much concentration you need to send because sometimes you say, oh, I have a 10 mg per mil, but I have a multiple peaks. Are you expecting transient complexation or you have not perfect separation? So the one peak in the front, even that you have your soup is 10 mg per mil, but when you have multiple peaks, obviously your signal gonna be lower for that peak of interest. So it's really hard to say. But in general, between 3 and 10 mg per mil, the higher than 10 mg per mil will be not helpful. Sometimes the columns are overrun with a high concentration. So that's our general information. Oops. We used before the splitter to split between SAXS and MOLS. We're not doing it anymore. We're going back to back. We're collecting MOLS and UV first, and then we're collecting SAXS, and then we're collecting reflectivity index. And all the informations are coupled, so we can define the molecular weight from the MOLS, and also hydrodynamic radius, and a form factor, and basically scattering profiles from the SAXS. So, and now I also show you why it is important to collect those two techniques back to back or in this basically parallel way. What information you can extract.